Okay, welcome to the fourth installment of Scouching's video room. First, I just want to thank everybody for all of the really positive feedback on this series so far. It's been a ton of fun to put together. So far, it's been a pretty big success, and we hope that continues into the future. So, if you like this video, definitely like it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you're new here, welcome. What we do on this show is we basically take a look at NHL drafted prospects where they're playing around the world and just take a quick look at one of the games they're playing to see where they're at as a player and what they bring and maybe some areas of potential improvement, and really just take a bit of a cross-sectional look at a player that people are talking about. If we get this video over 150 likes, then we're going to do a third one this week, so you can look forward to that. Definitely like the video, subscribe if you like. Consider a subscription over at Scouching.ca, where there's plenty of cool perks you can check out over there. So today, the subject is a player that lots and lots of people are talking about in Carolina Hurricanes second-round pick, Nikita Artamonov. He's one of the best performers in my database this season. He's having a fantastic season over in the KHL at a very high level of play. So today, we're going to take a look at a game he's playing against one of the premier teams in the KHL, SKA St. Petersburg. You might remember them from the Ivan Demidov video. If you haven't seen that one, definitely check it out on the channel. And we're just going to take a look at what Artamonov brings. So he's number 79 in white. And yeah, so let's get into the tape and see what he's got. Okay, so here is something that I've seen out of Artamonov all the time. If I look at my data from last year, he was an extremely heavily involved offensive transition player, largely just because of how good he was at getting the puck off the boards really quickly, finding leading forwards, getting up the ice, and basically starting a rush in the defensive zone. And in this clip, he does that exact same thing here. So let me just isolate him. He's here in this little circle, and he's going to back check into his own zone, but just watch how quickly he's able to get the puck off of his stick in a second here. There it is. Just backing it up again a little bit. I mean, it's just a really nice little thing to see out of guys. You know, the NHL is a very quick league. It requires quick thinking, quick passing, everything. You know, the quicker you can do it, the better. And Artamonov, especially for a guy who's not super big or maybe not the strongest guy in the world, to be able to find a target this quickly on an exit pass and just get the puck into the neutral zone, it's a good thing to do. Obviously not the best reception, but what can you do? He does it again later on the same shift, so you'll see Artamonov here, basically where he kind of needs to be. The puck's going to come around the back of the net, where he will also go to where he needs to be along the half wall there, and he just gets the puck right off the wall. Super quick. Again, 27 overshoots it a little bit, but gains possession anyway. It's things like that Artamonov does a lot, where he's just helping others move the play in the right direction. He's always, for me, been just a really good, smart play facilitator, and that's already been on display in the first shift of this game. Immediately after, on the same shift, you're going to see Artamonov, who is here. Again, this is a textbook Nikita Artamonov from what I remember last year. He just works his tail off. That's a big thing that he does that I think endears him to a lot of people. You know, he's definitely a guy who just chases down loose pucks, forechecks really well. He's this guy here. You know, he works. He puts in the work, tries to get guys pinned in the offensive zone. And again, he's following that puck right around, being the forechecker right now, the only guy. And that's kind of what he does. You know, to me, he's always been a very good supplementary support player that makes life easier for everyone else, and this is a big reason why. So he just tried the same thing again that we saw in the defensive zone a few times, now in the offensive zone, thinking really quickly and getting the puck off the boards as quickly as he can. So he is here, and he's going to get to the loose puck here, but he's going to face some pretty quick pressure, you know, from behind. So this is going to be a pretty tricky situation for him, especially with another guy here. You know, there aren't a ton of options here for him, and he just ends up passing it into an opponent's feet, but it's the mentality of the kind of game that he has. Just really quick thinking, grind along the boards, get the puck off the boards, and just move play in the right direction. I just love watching Artamonov play. He's not the most flashy guy a lot of the time, but people ask me a lot of the times, like, how is he so productive? How does he have so much production? Again, it's his puck touches, I think. A lot of what drives a lot of his good results is how selfless he is and how much he's able to work off of his line mates and just move play in the right direction. Like, he's here on the right wing on this face-off lineup here, so he's going to just quickly fetch a puck and tap it to a line mate to keep the puck down low. And the more often you do this and the more successful you are at it, the better off you're going to be. Just a little quick pass back along the boards to a guy supporting him behind him, and he just goes right back out to the front of the net, doesn't get a chance out of it, but this is how it happens. We see this with Ivan Demidov too, working these give and goes a lot more, and this is kind of what you need to play high pace, high speed hockey. Even if you're really, really skilled and supremely talented, work off your line mates. A quick little pass, cut to the net, find some room, and put in the work. And Artamonov does that, and he's always done that. So I think that's where a lot of this production this season has been coming from. We'll see it hasn't been in this game, obviously, to this point, but that's a number of really solid plays. With Artamonov here, he's on the back check, and I think this is a bit of an issue with him that a lot of people highlighted to me last year that I definitely resonate with, and it's an interesting discussion, so I apologize for the freeze frame here, but Artamonov is a player who I think exemplifies a really interesting archetype of young player where you know what you're getting out of them whenever they go over the boards, right? They put in the work. They are hardworking guys. They are selfless. They do a lot of the little things really, really well, and they're giving you 100% all the time. But the problem is they're giving you 100% all the time, and the 100% in terms of, outside of those situations, outside of those board battles and maybe more open ice play, sometimes may not be at the same level or pace of play or pure speed, I guess, is a lot of the problem that can put a player behind. And he becomes a lot more of just a give and go puck touch guy who is very supportive, and it kind of limits their upside once the NHL comes. And so I think that's where a lot of people go, well, Artamonov's not super big, and you kind of need to be kind of big in the NHL to play that sort of absorbent, sort of spongy game where you absorb pressure, look for options, act selfless, and support your line mates. And I think this is a really good example. You see Artamonov here, who is trying on the back check. He's skating back, right? So he's trailing here. He's the trailing forward, but he's not gliding into the defensive zone here. He keeps moving, tries to close that gap. He gets his stick sort of in the realm of potentially being a factor in deflecting this puck. The intention is there, right? The intention to cause something to happen that is beneficial for his team is there. And yeah, he's kind of already behind the play if you go back a few seconds. But on this back check, you can see that the speed really kind of limits him. And so it's a matter of how much that will limit him moving him forward. So there's a lot of good, I think, in his game and a lot of really respectable things. But I think that's a good example of something that might hold him back a little bit right now, especially if he's not a big dude out there. So the older I get and the more that I do this, the more I just respect players who are very talented for sure, but the simplicity of their game is what makes them so effective. And with Artamonov here, I mean, so he's in a bit of a board battle here, way away from the puck, so take that for what you will. I don't know what's going on over there. But he gets away from his man as he goes for a change, and so he's here, and he's got an entire lane to the net, right? Maybe if he's a bit of a shooter, he'll stop up, maybe somewhere in this vicinity, looking for a one-timer, maybe try to bait this guy to cut a little too much towards the net here. But sometimes you just got to keep it simple, and he goes right to the net, still has advantageous positioning here on the defender. So if the puck squirts free, he gets a first look at it. And again, he's got himself between the puck and the defender behind him. And what happens is the puck does squirt out. He doesn't get enough on the puck here to get a really good shot on net or a really good tip, but he's in a good position to put the puck in the back of the net. So again, this is another part of why players like him, who are just smart and effective and chip in and make everyone else's lives easier, can also just be an offensive player as well. You know, if these other guys are putting in the work possession-wise and moving the puck and just firing it out in front of the net, and you can trust that a guy like Artamonov is going to go to the net and try to bang one in or grind one into the net, then that's a pretty valuable piece to have on the team. So credit to a guy like Artamonov. This is another example of really smart, simple style of play, and you can see how production might lead from what we've already seen in this game. So this is going to be a little thing here, and I mean, again, it's just if I'm a video coach, I'm just, not being real harsh about this, but at the NHL level, you really don't want to be giving up the puck where Artamonov gives up the puck in this situation. And again, for a quick thinking guy like this, I'd kind of sort of maybe make an adjustment of get rid of the puck and get into the offensive zone, right? Chip and chase hockey, people sometimes meme on dump and chase, but in certain situations, you do need to do it, especially if you're already in the offensive zone. So what you'll see here is he's not on the screen, but Anton Salayev, top 10 pick of the New Jersey Devils, is here, and he's going to send an outlet pass to Artamonov, who is in the neutral zone. You'll notice that Artamonov makes himself a target, which again, he does a lot. So he's in enough clear space here that He can catch this pass relatively easily. The problem here, and again, this isn't really the fault of him or his team or anything, but there's just no support. All four of his line mates are back here, so there's really not much for him to do, and you'll notice that there's two SCA guys here, there's another one here, and there's another one here. You can see his stick. So he's skating into a 4-on-1 situation, which there aren't very many players who can navigate through that, and generally, you want to see guys just chipping the puck through that pressure. You could argue that he doesn't quite have the time to make a play here that isn't just try to carry it into the offensive zone. But here, I mean, I probably would have asked him to maybe chip it in here. Even if he does get held up at the offensive blue line here, he might have some support from this guy who might pinch in and maybe give him some help. I'm nitpicking here a little bit, but, you know, he skates into a 4-on-1 here. He loses possession of the puck. And then now you have four guys here, a loose puck here. If they come the other way, yeah, they've got support behind them. It's a little thing here, right? They say pucks in deep all the time. Sometimes there's a reason for that. So I went back to the beginning of this shift, and I just want to show Artamonov exemplifying more of kind of what makes him an interesting player and a player that could play on my bottom six if I were an NHL general manager. So here he's on the left wing, and you'll see that he just makes a nice little cut out into open space and just gets to scoring areas here. Then what you're going to see is a really, really nice forecheck to try to keep pinning the puck in the offensive zone. He just brings so much hustle to the game. He makes everything happen. You know, he works really, really hard, and he does a lot of things right. So you'll watch him here. Again, he's in open space, so he does have a chance of getting a quick one on net if it manages to get off the boards here. But he's here, so he's on the left wing here. I mean, he's a left winger, so that kind of makes sense. But the puck is being rimmed around this way, and he's going to work and work and work to try to get back over there and stop a potential breakout from even happening in the first place, right? Sometimes the best defense is played in the offensive zone. And he gets engaged in a board battle. He does get it chipped past him slightly. But this is a thing that, you know, ends up pinning the puck in the offensive zone for Nizhny Novgorod. And the more he does this, the better off he'll be. And just winding back for a couple of seconds, here's Artamonov again. Another thing I've noticed about him over the last season and a half now is he's often so square to the puck. Like, he's always ready for something. Finding a one-timer opportunity or becoming a pass option on breakouts or anything like that. It's just a really, really good sense of support. And so the puck gets stuck in St. Petersburg zone here. And you've got two guys right next to each other here. And what you'll see is 91, I think this is, will go behind the net, and Artamonov will just fill in the space behind him here. Again, like, there is also, you'll notice, a total chasm where there is nobody from St. Petersburg here. They're all kind of pinned up pretty high in their defensive zone. So Artamonov almost lands himself a really good scoring chance here just by standing in front of the net, making himself an option. And these two guys, there's no way that they're going to close this, right? This little pass behind 91's back, right to Artamonov. He just doesn't, it's not perfect, and he doesn't get the chance on net there. But again, hockey is a game where sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't. But the more often you do good things, the more often good things will happen. And that's an example of more good things that Artamonov does that's just really subtle but effective. He's been doing that for ages. So on this breakout, again, he is the man on the right wing. You know, he's going to be a breakout option. He has tons of room to play with. You know, he can do plenty of things here. 71 makes the right move, gets the puck off the boards into open ice. It's not a perfect pass, but what does Artamonov do here? A little chip and chase, right? And the more I see this out of him, the more I like. You know, yes, I would like him to be a little stronger and a little bit quicker, but he battles his way through this pressure, gets himself into the neutral zone, and he's kind of off to the races here, right? Yes, he's facing really decent, you know, almost triple coverage here. He's got very limited options. This guy's covered here. But the fact that he manages to get it out of the defensive zone and manages now to get it in the offensive zone with control, it's more of the good stuff that you like to see out of a player. That willingness to battle, making himself an option, and moving the puck up the ice with control. So earlier in the episode, I kind of talked about Artamonov's sort of lack of speed being maybe an issue down the road, but What comes next here is a really interesting example of not necessarily speed that's locked behind something in his game, but the confidence and the puck possession ability that Artamonov has, that if I'm a video coach or if I'm the Carolina Hurricanes, I'm very interested in isolating and working on. So you'll see him here again, just they're forechecking well. They're getting the puck into the offensive zone. He's the support option here. He'll get the puck and just take it for a ride with possession and swing wide, swing below the goal line, and get himself into potentially dangerous scoring position here. So no one is really covering him. He takes this guy just for a ride out to the blue line almost. His only real option here is to hold on to the puck. There just isn't much for him to do here unless he tries to thread a pass to this guy. But behind him is covered pretty well. There is double coverage here, so that might also lead to a turnover. When you have guys that are carrying the puck around the offensive zone, you got to be sure that they can protect the puck. And on this example, he seems to be doing an okay job, at least to this point. So this is a pretty decent example of Artamonov in the defensive zone as just a good, solid, all-around smart guy. You know, here he is here. He's doing his coverage, what he's supposed to do. He's pretty deep in his own end, but the puck's going to come out to this guy at the blue line, and he's going to immediately come right out and challenge him. He reads that play before it even happens, challenges him, and then when he's circling back into his own end, what does he do? Circles right back and picks up this guy streaking to the net and just ties him up, removes the option. And I mean, how many times in this and the Demidov video, for example, have we seen Russian guys, Demidov or Artamonov for that matter, finding open space in the defensive end? You know, nobody's really covering them and they make themselves a scoring option, right? So it's stuff like that that I think is important. And in Artamonov's case, that's just another example of how he puts in the work. He does that extra little bit to make life easier, and that's valuable. And just going back a few seconds from the last little clip we went over, you'll notice also that the puck will come around this way after that little defensive coverage moment of his, and he's going to immediately challenge the puck on this side of the ice. So he's here. The puck's going to be over here, and he's going to get involved and try to cause a turnover, and actually does, but Torpedo just fails to get the puck out of their own end here. Okay, so this is a big reason why Nikita Artamonov drove such good offensive transition results for me last season in pretty heavy usage. He's coming back into the neutral zone here. He's heading this direction. He'll have someone with him most of the way. He just makes a quick little turn here to make a little bit of a gap between him and the guy who was covering him. He'll find his way here. This guy here is going to just bang a pass out to him. Clean exit, clean offensive entry. And he's got tons of room to play with here, right? He's got a player here who's now streaking in this way. 97 might be a guy who could support him as a trailing forward. He's got options now, and he's got that clean entry. Nice little behind the back pass. Now they have possession in the offensive zone. Those little cuts, you know, those moments of creating little bits of space, making yourself a target, it's super, super, super important, right? This is why coaches and people like me don't really like players who kind of just float around and look for, you know, the players to find them. No, you got to go out there and make yourself a target and make yourself known as a target and be engaged when you're on the ice. This is just a smart little play. I mean, again, it kind of showcases Artamonov's lack of just raw speed and power because he does get rubbed out in the neutral zone here. But you'll notice that he does do these little chip and chase things. So this pass is behind him. It's getting out into the neutral zone, but he'll make a little tap here. So he's facing pressure from this guy. He doesn't just eat the puck along the boards, right? He's just going to tap it along the boards. It's going to deflect, and 71's going to retrieve it. Selfless play. He's not trying to be the hero, trying to burst his way through the pressure here. I mean, he's not strong enough or fast enough to do so anyway. But again, just keep possession of the puck, right? 71 now has the puck. He's got an option here with 97 on the entry that if Artamonov just ate the puck there and made a puck battle out of it along the boards, they might have lost possession and they might have been on the defense again. I keep highlighting this because it just keeps happening, but Artamonov is up here, right? He's pretty high in the offensive zone. He's, you know, maybe a bit of a scoring target here or what have you, but it doesn't really matter what happens because he'll just streak into the corner and try to pin the puck in the offensive zone. He's not just hanging out around here, maybe waiting for a lazy exit pass. No, he gets right in there and really tries to pin them in, right? So plays like this, you force the opponent to make a decision, make a play. If this battle here goes Torpedo's way, Artamonov instigated an offensive zone turnover, right? So the more people do this in the offensive zone, especially your wingers, I mean, the better off you're going to be. Super simple stuff, but very effective. He's here. He's in front of the net. Not the biggest guy in the world, but he does things that you need to do if you're going to score, if you're going to be one of these supportive, complementary offensive players. He gets held a little bit here, I would say, you know, like this looks like he's kind of getting hugged. So you'll see he kind of, you know, he gets an opportunity to get the stick on the puck, but it's, I mean, you could argue that this is a penalty, but, you know, and I think he argues with the referee that this is a penalty. You can see he's, you know, what are you doing here, bud? What was that all about? And then you'll see the referee do one of these. I don't know. I didn't see anything. So, you know, welcome to hockey, but it just showcases his willingness to go to the net, play simple, and he's willing to get held to try to make a play. How does he produce? This is another way I think he's doing it. This is just a nice sequence, and again, like, the razzle-dazzle isn't really there in Artamonov's game, but over the years, I've definitely learned that razzle-dazzle doesn't mean anything if you're not a good player, right? So, for example, right, Artamonov is here, he's supporting this situation right here, and he just makes a really nice, quick little play, and then does a really, really smart thing in a way that could, again, lead to offense, right? So he's fetching the puck along the boards, and he's just going to get the puck right back out to the blue line. Really quick thought, really quick pass, and then, again, here he is, open space. You know, this is a bit of a soft shot on net. I believe that's Zelayev as well. Artamonov's just going to carve right through St. Petersburg's defense and get below the goal line and win this race to the puck almost completely uncontested, right? I mean, the referee is contesting him. So he's having a bit of a couple of rough shifts with the refereeing, but he's the only one there to get the puck. And now he has a clean lane, really, to keep making passes here. He could throw one out this way. I mean, he's got options, and it's all through him. It's all his work. And just backing up again a little bit here. So Artamonov's out here. He's covering for a defenseman he just dished the puck to, but he just goes to the net. Again, he's lurking. He's just lurking in open space here. And when he goes to the net, again, a quick cut on Ivan Demidov here in front. Demidov doesn't stick with him. And, like, yeah, this is stuff that can lead to offense, right? All he needs to do, all that needs to happen, is the puck comes around the other side of the net. They've got one option here. They've got Artamonov here. It's a clear path to the net for these guys with 3 St. Petersburg guys behind these two. It's a very advantageous situation, and Artamonov snuck his way in there. This is almost becoming a meme for me, saying the phrase little things, but it doesn't matter how skilled or fast you are when you make plays like what Artamonov's about to do here. So you'll notice this entire region of the ice is completely empty. Artamonov is the right winger in this situation, so here he is. He's coming back. This puck is coming around this way. He's going to collect it, and you'll notice he's shoulder checking now, like this early, and he goes, oh, there's a guy there. That's fun. He doesn't try to wheel the puck himself or just dump it back in lazily and maybe cause a turnover here. It's just shoulder check, backhand pass, and boom. Now you have the puck in open space, and you've generated a defensive zone exit. I'm only highlighting this as well because this is like the bazillionth time this has happened in this game, but Artamonov lining up here on the left side on the faceoff immediately just bumps and grinds his way to pin them in their end. He's challenging the potential puck carrier here immediately, wins the battle, chips the puck, and now they have possession in the offensive zone. Little things. I should put that on a t-shirt at this point. Artamonov is in front of the net here. He's a tipping threat, a rebound threat, what have you. Multiple kinds of things can happen when you go to the net. But he takes a quick step out to provide some support for his line mate in open ice here. And it leads to a potential scoring chance, I should say, with a slot pass to the front of the net area from Artamonov here. A lot of Artamonov's potential offense in this game has been off puck and just going to the net and keeping it simple. And he had that opportunity that was in front of the net and just the pass was slightly off. But that was probably the first example of him really playmaking in the offensive zone. This is another really nice sequence from Artamonov that doesn't really blow you away, but it matters. So he, again, is lined up on the left wing. Again, it seems like he's toggling back and forth depending on the situation, but he is going to be the first guy in here for checking in the offensive zone. going after this guy. Could maybe have knocked that puck down if he had a bit of luck there. But again, another really good support option here. He's helping out in the neutral zone. A quick chip of the puck into his own defensive end here, and they have tons of space to play with. And then what he does is just goes, you know what? I'm going to do what I always do. I'm just going to make myself a target and burst into this open space and go, give me the puck, Mr. Defenseman. And what does he do? Could have been handled a little bit cleaner, but gets possession in the offensive zone. It's not perfect on that little play there, but it's like the third or fourth time he's done something like that in this game. So this is the last shift of the game for Artamonov, and he's over here on the left wing again. And it's just another example that I want to highlight before we finish up of him just being a guy who's going to wheel around here on a potential breakout and just making himself a target. It's so important to be able to transition the puck. And as a guy who off the puck can be playing like this and making himself a target as much as he has in this game, it just helps so much. This guy, he's always struck me as a guy who maybe in the NHL won't score a ton. He won't, be the guy on your team. You can see why he's a successful player in Russia right now. He's just a guy who, if you put him with good possession players and maybe some faster skilled players, you're going to get a hand from him no matter what the situation. So you'll notice that he's found himself over here. He makes himself a target, right? Like, this is a pretty easy outlet option for him, right? So I think the idea would be to pass the puck here, a quick deflection, maybe put it in the neutral zone and hit Artamonov in stride. Doesn't work out that way. Again, the more this happens, the better off you're going to be. And a guy like Artamonov does this stuff all the time, and that's the end of the game. The diagnosis on Nikita Artamonov, right? People are talking about him like he's this outstanding, amazing future prospect. I saw someone post a thing comparing him with data to Nicholas Backstrom, right? Like, that's not him. I think you can tell just from this game that this is not him. This is a game, though, that I think really well exemplifies who he is as a player. Really strong support player, really smart, competitive, grinds his way through the game willingly, forechecks hard, selfless with the puck, off the puck, goes to the net. Really good support player. This is the same kind of thing that I saw last year a little bit. I think the thing that's kind of shifted a little bit is he's not really sort of taking on as much in stride as he has in the past. Like, he's doing give and goes a lot more, and he's just making quicker decisions and relying a little bit more on off-puck offense. Like, before, a lot of his game was, give me the puck, and if I find you, I'll get you the puck, and if I don't, I'm just going to carry it into the offensive zone as often as I can and just put one on net. He was shooting the puck more than he did in this game. I don't know if he even landed himself a shot attempt in this game, and that was a criticism I had of his game last year, is that a lot of his attempts were coming from sort of medium and low danger areas of the ice that they're a little tougher to score from in the NHL. Artamonov may very well, so far in this series, be sort of the king of being a support player, right? Demidov was a guy who was kind of learning to do that more than he does, and I think Demidov's skill level and creativity and offensive zone play, I think, puts him a little bit above Artamonov, obviously, here. And I feel like with Artamonov, you just see so many things that there's a lot of habits here and a lot of tendencies that I think that you can take home with you and go, okay, like, he's making himself a target on those breakouts. He's supporting his line mates. He's active in play. Like, you can tell he is engaged in making reads, seeing how the game is going, being engaged in the offensive zone. He's not letting the game come to him a whole lot, but he is sort of imposing himself onto the game in a good way. I liked this game from him. I thought he played well. Obviously, if there was stuff that I thought he should work on or something, I would have highlighted it. The thing with Artamonov, though, before we go, is why he went later in the draft, right? And we touched on it earlier. He's not the biggest guy in the world, and I think he plays a big man's game in a way. And I think that spooks NHL teams, especially playing in Russia, where the quality of play has taken a bit of a dip in the last couple of years. He's a guy who works his tail off. He gives you 100%. He's Torbjorn from Overwatch. Hard work pays off. But my whole thing last year, I remember, and it's still the same. Hard work does pay off, but in the NHL, it only gets you so far, right? It depends on where you take a player in the draft, I believe, where it's worth it to take a chance on a guy like this, where you go, yeah, I think there's a pretty reasonable chance that he becomes a bottom six NHLer. Now, where he went in the draft in the later second round, if you get anything in that range, you've done a really, really good job. And considering some of the players that went ahead of him, I have a hard time believing that he is a worse bet than those players. So I think Carolina deserves some credit because I feel like they're going to end up with a player here at some point. Again, the speed is not amazing, but again, just as a good forechecking player who brings good smarts to the game, really intelligent all-around approach at both ends of the ice. He's selfless. You know, he plays it safe in a good way. I think there's a really good player here in Artamonov. I'm not sure he's this world-ending player, but I think that there's enough here that is good enough that he could push for an NHL job. Bottom six, grindy boy who just does the little things really, really well. And a guy who you don't have to worry about so much when you throw him over the boards during a game. So that's it for this one. I thought Artamonov showed really well in this game. I remain a big fan of him. If you're a big fan of this show, definitely like it. If we get over 150 likes, we'll release a third one this week that we're recording. And definitely leave a comment if you'd like to discuss this more. We're patrolling the comments and willing to discuss whatever you see in this as well. Definitely also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and consider subscribing at Scouching.ca. It really, really helps us out. We've got a fun Discord server and plenty of perks you can check out over there. So that's going to be it for Nikita Artamonov. The next one is going to be on a player that a lot of people might know by the name of Sam Dickinson. So stay tuned for that one, and we'll see you then.